Hey guys, welcome to another tier ranking. I'm just gonna be doing a tier ranking of all the MCU movies. So I'm just gonna rank all 30 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies from best to worst from this tier list, and just gonna talk about these movies from best to worst. And let's get started. Since there's now 30 of these movies now. Since Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever just came out, I decided to just rank all 30 of these movies since Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever just came out. So yeah, let's get started. My favorite is my top favorite has to be Spider-Man: No Way Home. Yeah, I already told you guys. This is one of like my favorite superhero movie, along with The Dark Knight. I already told you, when you guys saw my Spider-Man tier ranking video, I already told you guys I love this movie. So if you guys want to know if you want to hear me get in depth, just go. I'm sure you guys already saw my Spider-Man tier ranking. If not, just go check that video out. If you want to hear my thoughts on it, just go check that video out. And then behind No Way Home has to be Avengers Endgame. I was struggling because I always go back and forth because both these movies are so different. This movie has more drama. Avengers Endgame has more drama in it than No Way Home does. But I just like No Way Home. I think I was thinking, which one do I like more? I would probably just go with No Way Home, just because No Way Home. No Way Home. Yeah, I'd have to go with No Way Home, just because No Way Home has more, because it has all three of the Spider-Men, and it has all the villains, and I've always wanted to see stuff like this, and it was hard to say because Avengers Endgame was so good. They were both epic crossovers, and, but yeah, Avengers Endgame was really great, and of course, and it had a good conclusion, and, it was a great movie. It was a really great movie. It had a great conclusion, great acting, epic crossover. It was awesome to see because both No Way Home and Avengers Endgame had everything I ever wanted. Because they had everything I ever wanted in the Marvel movies. They went back, in Avengers Endgame, they went back in time, and they went back in time to 2012. They went back to the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thor: The Dark World, and they were both really, and it was awesome. And the final fight was so epic, and yeah, that's why I love Avengers Endgame. It's my second favorite Marvel movie. It's my second favorite out of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And then behind Endgame would have to be Avengers: Infinity War. Yeah, Avengers: Infinity War was really great as well. I loved Infinity War was great. I think I liked Endgame a little bit more because Endgame I like the fact that they went back in time to the older movies. But I love Infinity War as well. I like the action scenes in Infinity War. The action is incredible. Josh Brolin did such a good job. Did such a good voice acting performance as Thanos, and Thanos is like the best Marvel villain, one of the best movie villains, period. And it had such really great action, really great visuals, and everything about this movie was awesome. I remember I saw this movie in theaters. It had such a fantastic opening, and it's so unusual to see the Hulk lose against the villain, and so that's why I love Infinity War. It had great action. And then I'd put Iron Man at Iron Man would be at the I'd put Iron Man at behind Avengers and Infinity War. Yeah, Iron Man was I loved Iron Man because it started off the whole it started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I like the way they introduced Tony Stark. I love Tony. The way they introduced Tony Stark is just awesome, and the acting is really great, and the way they set up the Avengers when you see Nick Fury in the post-credit scene, this was so epic to the way it started off the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, and and the way they introduce Tony Stark, the way they have him become Iron Man, it's so awesome, and that's why he's so popular nowadays. And just no one else can play. No one else can play No one else can play Iron Man except for Robert Downey Jr. He's just so awesome, and so yeah, that's why I loved Iron Man. Great movie, great superhero movie. And then Captain America: Civil War. Yeah, Captain America: Civil War. I loved Captain America: Civil War as well. That was a great one as well because I really liked I really liked Captain America: Civil War because the way it has Iron Man and Captain America, the way they fight, it's just the airport fight scene was awesome, and I like the storyline put into it. The way the way they have a disagreement with the Accords, and then they start fighting. Like I like the way they introduce Black Panther in the movie. And I understand why he was upset with Bucky, and he thought Bucky killed his father, and then I also love the way they introduced Spider-Man in this movie. Like the way they introduced Spider-Man was so awesome, and that's why I love this movie. And it had a great story and great acting, and yeah, that's why I love Captain America: Civil War. I loved it. And then at the bottom of the S tier would have to be the Avengers, the very first Avengers movie. The very first Avengers movie was this movie started off the whole. I probably have to. I'd probably have to put this one here. Yeah, I love the first Avengers movie. It was really great, and I really liked the way they introduced all six of the characters, and they're all really, really great. They're really the acting is great. The directing is really awesome. It just I love the directing, and Joss Whedon did such a good job with this movie. I really liked him in this movie. The comedy in this movie was hilarious, and it was really, really funny. I loved it. It was very, very funny, and I love the jokes and everything, and yeah, it was a great movie. And then behind the Avengers would have to be actually I'd probably put Black Panther in the S tier. Yeah, Black Panther. I loved Black Panther. It had I liked the way they had Chadwick Boseman was so awesome in this movie. It was so sad what happened to him a few years ago. He was really great in this movie. I love the acting in this movie. The action scenes were great. This movie was awesome, and like I love the villain. I really loved the villain. The villain Killmonger, Eric Killmonger. Michael B. Jordan as Eric Killmonger. He was really great, and I really liked this movie. The visuals and the action scenes were great. And I loved all the characters. The acting was just really awesome. I liked his sister, Shuri. And yeah, Black Panther was a really great movie. I loved it. And then, behind the Avengers would have to be Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, Thor Ragnarok. I really liked Thor Ragnarok because Thor Ragnarok was Thor Ragnarok was actually pretty funny. Thor Ragnarok was pretty funny. I love the Hulk and Thor. They were hilarious in this movie. And the villain Hela, I really liked her. And the way it opens with where he's all chained up, and then the Led Zeppelin song, the Immigrant Song, was just so awesome. It matches perfectly with the fighting, and it was just solid. And the comedy was awesome in this movie. And I liked Loki, and of course Loki shines in this movie, and it was awesome. The music was awesome in this movie. The Immigrant Song, the fighting was just so badass, and I loved it. It was awesome. And then behind Thor Ragnarok would have to be Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Captain America: The Winter Soldier was very good as well. The action scenes were really, really great, and it was so unexpectedly dark. And of course, Chris Evans shines in this movie, and it was awesome. It was so surprising to see Bucky back, and the way they just show his face. Everyone in the audience was like, "Oh, it's Bucky!" It was so surprising, and the way they just introduced the way the like the highway fight scene was so awesome. The effects in this movie were amazing, and it was so dark too. That's why I really like this movie, because of the action and the effects, and it's really great. It's awesome, and I really like Black Widow in this movie as well. To see her back, and, yeah. Okay, so at the behind the Winter Soldier would have to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy I like the way they introduce all these characters, like Peter Quill and Gamora, Groot and Drax, and I really liked Rocket Raccoon. Rocket Raccoon was hilarious. Rocket Raccoon was awesome. I love him. The way Bradley Cooper did such a good job voicing him, and it was really great. And he was so hilarious in the movie. And of course, Chris Pratt as Peter Quill / Star-Lord was really awesome. And this movie was pretty funny. I really liked it. Great soundtrack, great visuals, great action, great comedy, and just I really love this movie. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. The only thing I didn't really love about this movie was the villain, but that's really it. The movie was fun. It was a very fun time, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a fun time. It's a good movie for people who don't watch superhero movies, actually. It's a great movie. And so behind Guardians of the Galaxy would be Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home I really liked that movie. I loved Mysterio, and I like the action scenes, like the effects, like the final fight scene when they're in London was great. The effects were great. The action scenes were great, and the comedy was pretty funny too. And the movie was pretty funny, and I really liked what they did with Mysterio. He was a very cool villain, and yeah, I really liked Far From Home. It was a fun movie. I had a lot of fun with it when it came out. And I like the way they set up at the end. Of course, you can't talk about the ending. It literally ended the exact same way Homecoming did, which was funny. And so yeah, that's why I love Far From Home. It's hilarious. Good comedy, good effects, and good action scenes, and a really great villain. And so behind Far From Home would actually have to be Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming was great. I love the way they introduced Peter Parker in that movie. The way they introduced Spider-Man. I like the camp. I like that this movie was a bit campy and stuff. I like the Vulture in this movie was awesome. Like, he was one of the best Marvel villains. I really liked the Vulture in this movie. And so Michael Keaton's performance as the Vulture was great, and so I really liked the Vulture in this movie. The movie was pretty funny too, and that's why I love Homecoming. And I remember really liking it when it came out, and I still really like it. It holds up very well, and I had a lot of fun with this movie, and it was pretty funny. And so yeah, that's why I love Spider-Man Homecoming. It was a really good movie. I had a lot of fun with it when it came out, and I still have a good time with it. Okay, behind and then Captain America: The First Avenger. Yes, Captain America: The First Avenger was pretty. I had a lot of fun with that movie as well, and I really liked. It was set in the I like the way they have it set in the 1940s. I like how, because it literally looks like the way they have it set in the 1940s is so well done, and I like the way they introduce Captain America. And it's a good superhero movie to watch if you don't like superhero movies. As I said with Guardians of the Galaxy, this is a really good one to start with if you haven't seen any superhero movies. And so yeah, that's why I really like Captain America. I had a lot of fun with it, and I had a lot of fun with it. And so yeah, that's why I really like Captain America. I had a lot of fun with it. It was fun. And the villain was great too. The Red Skull, and Tommy Lee Jones, Chris Evans, and Sebastian Stan. They were all great. The acting in this movie was great. I love it. Okay, and then behind would have to be Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man. Yeah, the first Ant-Man movie I had a lot of fun with as well. I really I like the way they Paul Rudd was hilarious in this movie. This movie was very very funny. I like the way like he was in jail for 3 years, and then he got out, and then he wanted to go see his daughter, and it just and the movie was very funny. I like the way they introduced his character. I like the acting, and I like Hank Pym in the movie as well. And the movie is pretty funny. It's a very I had a lot of fun with this. It's a very fun time. I love Ant-Man. It was great. It was great. I had a lot of fun with it. And then behind and then then Shang-Chi would yeah, Shang-Chi. Yeah, Shang-Chi. I had a lot of fun with Shang-Chi as well. That was a funny movie. I mean, and it was funny, and it had really good action. Like the action was great, and I like the characters too. His father was my favorite character. I liked Shang-Chi, but his father was my favorite character. I liked him as the villain, and I really liked Shang-Chi. I had a good time with it. And the character Shang-Chi was decent, but my favorite character was his dad. And I had a lot of fun with Shang-Chi. I had a great time with it, actually. I remember it was one of the better movies in Phase 4, because I haven't been the biggest fan of Phase 4 lately. But Shang-Chi was actually, I had a lot of fun with it. It was a great movie, actually. It was pretty good. I had a lot of fun with it. And then at the B tier would have to be Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Yeah, this was a great one. This was actually pretty good. I went and saw it in theaters just last week, I think. Yeah, last week, and I had fun with it. This is the way since it just came out. That's why I just decided to do this tier list, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. And I won't get into in depth with it because I don't want to ruin it for you guys. So yeah, just go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It was pretty good. And then Avengers: Age of Ultron would have to be here. Avengers: Age of Ultron was pretty good actually. I liked the way they introduced. I liked the way they had Ultron. He was a really great villain, and it was a bummer that they didn't have him in more movies because I really liked him in this movie, and I really liked I really liked Ultron. The movie, I had a lot of fun with it. I like what Joss Whedon did with this movie, but it's also darker than the first movie. Like the first one was more like had more comedy a bit. This one was more serious. I remember the movie does hold up pretty well. It holds up fine, and I remember really liking it when it came out. But I mean, it's still pretty good. I didn't love it as much as when I loved it the first time I saw it. It's I still have a great time with it. Actually, it's pretty good. It's just a little. It's not as good as the first movie though. But I like what Joss Whedon did with this movie. I like the way they introduced newer characters like Scarlet Witch and it was a bummer that they didn't have. It was a bummer that Quicksilver wasn't in there. He just got killed like at the end of the movie. I was bummed out because it was a bummer that they didn't have him in more movies, but. Yeah, I had fun with Age of Ultron. That was a good movie. And then Guardians of the Galaxy 2. There it is. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was pretty good as well. I liked the villain Ego, Quill's father. You don't expect him. I didn't even expect him to be the villain. It's just because he seemed like a nice guy, but then you found out he was the villain, and it's just. And I really liked this movie. Ego was I liked his character as the villain, and I really liked the soundtrack to this movie too. The soundtrack was great in this movie as well. It was also great in the first movie, and the way it opens with Groot is hilarious. I love Groot in this movie. He's so funny. Baby Groot's hilarious, and so yeah, that's why I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's pretty funny, and it's very funny. Great action. The way it opens is pretty funny, and yeah, I had a fun time with it. Okay, Doctor Strange. Where's Doctor Strange? There it is, Doctor Strange. Yeah, Doctor Strange. I had a fun. I remember Doctor Strange was pretty good actually. I really liked the Doctor Strange was a good movie. I liked Benedict Wong as Wong, and of course Benedict Cumberbatch was also really great as well, as Doctor Strange, and I had a fun time with it. I like Tilda Swinton as Ancient One. And I liked Ancient One, the movie, and I liked the effects. It was almost like you were watching Inception a bit. Like, it was a lot like Inception. And I liked the action scenes as well, and it was great. I really liked this movie. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It was a good movie. And I like the fact that I like the way they had him as I like the way they had him, like, because not a lot of superhero modern superhero nowadays, they don't have him look like the way they do in the comics. But in this movie, they had him look just like the way they did in the comics, and he looked just exactly like the way he does in the comics, and I love it. It was awesome. The effects were great, the storyline was great, and the way they introduced him was Doctor Strange was great, and the acting, and it was a lot like Inception, but with the buildings and stuff, and it was awesome. I love Doctor Strange. It's a great movie. I mean, I don't love it. I don't love Doctor Strange, but I don't love Doctor Strange, but it's a pretty good movie. I don't love it, but it's a good movie. I always have fun watching it. And then Ant Man and the Wasp would be behind Ant Man and the Wasp. Yeah, Ant Man and the Wasp was pretty good. I Ant Man and the Wasp was decent. I wasn't the villain was just nah, but the movie was just it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. They when he was under house arrest for 2 years, it's just they had him under house arrest for 2 years, and yeah, I just like the first one more, but the second one is decent. I had a fun time with the second one. It wasn't bad. It was a good movie, and yeah, I like the second one, but the first one was better. But okay, let's see, and then what's Thor: The Dark World would have to be here. Yeah, Thor: The Dark World was enjoyable. I mean, I know a lot of people don't think it's amazing. I mean, which it's not. It's enjoyable. I liked the music. The musical score is amazing. The musical score is amazing. And the villain was just that elf guy. I wasn't a big fan of the villain. He was kind of lame. But the musical score was actually very good. The musical score has been like one of the best musical scores in superhero movies. The musical score was phenomenal. It was incredible, and it was very well done. And it had some good action scenes, and I liked Loki a lot in this movie. I liked him even more in this movie than the way he was in the first movie, and I like this movie a lot. I mean, the movie's pretty good. I like it better than the first one because he's on Earth more. Like because he's in space. He's in Asgard. Excuse me. He's on Asgard more than he is on Earth, and because when he was on Earth, it wasn't really that interesting. But he was in Asgard more in this movie, and in this movie, didn't have any Dutch angles as well. I mean, I enjoyed the first Thor, which I'll get to that one in a minute. But yeah, Thor: The Dark World was a great movie. Great score. I mean, not a great movie, but it's a good movie. It was a good movie. It wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing, but it was enjoyable. I had a fun time with it. Great score, but great score though. The score was awesome. I mean, it was not as memorable as the other movies. It's just not super memorable. Okay, and then behind Thor: The Dark World would be the very first Thor movie. Yeah, okay, I wasn't, okay, the music, what was I saying? Yeah, okay, I see. He was on Earth a little bit more than he was in the second movie. In this movie, he was on Earth more, and see, that wasn't very interesting when he was on Earth. It just, I wasn't when he was on Earth, it wasn't super interesting. But the Musical score was pretty good, actually. I liked it, but it was the second one had better score, so I liked the second one better, and it didn't have any Dutch angles. The Dutch angles, I mean, I enjoyed the first Thor, but it had a little bit of Dutch angles, which got a little bit annoying at times. It's like the Dutch angles got a little bit annoying at times, yeah, Thor is a fun movie. Not a bad movie. It's a fun movie. I had fun with it, and I mean, I enjoy it. I don't love it, but I enjoy the first Thor. I like how they introduced Thor. The way they introduced him was pretty well done. Okay, and then the C tier now would have to be Black Widow. I remember when it first came out, I enjoyed it, but I've seen parts of it now. I've looked back at it. It's not super amazing. It's just movie's just I mean, parts of it. The first maybe hour of it was pretty good, but then the rest of the movie kind of fell apart towards the end. I did not like the villain in the movie, but of course Scarlett Johansson was great in the movie, obviously, and yeah, I mean, I had fun with the first hour. I mean, it's not a bad movie. I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, I haven't been the biggest fan of Phase 4 lately. Phase 4 has not been that good, but I mean, it wasn't like Eternals or any of those. But Black Widow wasn't bad. It just wasn't amazing. I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. Okay, so then and then behind Black Widow would have to be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie. I remember liking it when it first came out. I saw it a second time in theaters. I saw it twice in theaters. I just wasn't a fan of it the second time. I remember enjoying it a lot the first time because it does have good visuals and it has some good action scenes. There's some stuff I like about it. Like, I like the haunted house scene. That's probably my favorite part in the movie. And I really also liked Wanda in this movie, and I did not expect her to be a villain. And but I just wasn't a fan of it because there was too much happening in this movie. There was just way too much happening. Like, I just wasn't a fan that they had to like you just would have to watch so much to understand this movie. Like, you'd have to watch all the TV shows. Not all the fans have watched the TV shows. It's like I haven't even watched all the TV shows. And because I don't watch a lot of their TV shows, I'm more into the movies. I've seen some of the TV shows, but like you'd have to watch WandaVision, you'd have to watch What If. Well, then you'd have to like watch so many of the other movies. There's so much you'd have to watch, and I just wasn't a big fan of it. And it just like you'd have to watch so much to understand this movie, otherwise you'd be completely lost. And it's just I wasn't a fan of it. It just was forgettable. That's all I can say. Wasn't a fan of Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. Just wasn't great. Okay, then Iron Man 2 would have to be there here. Yeah, I think actually. Yeah, I'd leave Iron Man 2 right there. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Iron Man 2 as well. I thought Iron Man 2 was just kind of a little bit, like, over the top. But I thought Tony Stark was a little bit over the top in this movie. Like, he was a bigger alcoholic in this movie than he was in the first movie. Like, he was nonstop drinking. He was kind of a little bit... He was just not as likable in this movie. And it's just... I didn't really like the villain in this movie. And it's... in Iron Man 2, it's just... The movie's not that... I just wasn't a fan of it. It just... There was too much happening. A little cheesy at times. Yeah, Iron Man 2 is just... It's not as... I know some people really don't like this movie, but... It's not bad. Not great, though. Okay, then here would have to be Thor: Love and Thunder. Yes, I remember I really did enjoy Thor: Love and Thunder when it first came out. I saw it a second time in theaters. I wasn't a big fan of it. There was some stuff I didn't like about this movie. Like I just didn't like like Jane's cancer story, and I was disappointed that they didn't have. I was disappointed that the Guardians of the Galaxy were not in it a little too much. I thought Korg was a little bit annoying at times. Like he was more annoying in this movie because he wasn't as annoying in the other movies. I actually liked him, but he was annoying in this movie. And it just got very cheesy at times, but there was so much happening. I just wasn't a fan of it. However, I did really like the villain, Gore the God Butcher. I really loved Gore the God Butcher. Christian Bale did a great performance. He really did a good job with Gore the God Butcher. I really liked the villain, him as the villain. And it had some good action scenes and some good music. Like, I liked the first scene with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor with the song Welcome to the Jungle. That was a good scene. And it had some good action scenes. Like, I like that scene where Thor meets Gore the God Butcher, and it's just, yeah, it's not bad, but it's not a great movie. I remember I liked it when it first came out, but I saw it for a second time. I saw it for a second time in theaters. Wasn't a fan. Okay, and then Iron Man. Iron Man 3 would have to be here. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Iron Man 3. I thought Iron Man 3 was a little bit too. I thought Iron Man 3 was a little too. I thought Iron Man 3 was just kind of boring a bit. There was just. I thought it was boring. I thought the plot line was like just. I remember watching it once, and I just didn't have any desire to see it again. It's just it just was boring. You know, the act. There was some stuff I liked about it. It had some good action scenes and some good score, but it's just. I don't know. I don't feel like I just really need to see this movie again. It wasn't that. It wasn't great. And then Captain Marvel would have to be. Captain Marvel would have to be behind Iron Man 3. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Captain Marvel either. I thought Captain Marvel was kind of boring as well. I just wasn't a big fan of Captain Marvel. I thought I wasn't interested in the character, Carol. I wasn't really interested in her, and it's just, the story is just not interesting. It's just, I wasn't a fan of this movie. It was kind of boring a bit. Like, just, there's so much, like, the character Captain Marvel is just not very interesting, and it's just, the movie was unnecessary. I wasn't a fan of Captain Marvel. It was just, It was, And at the bottom of the C tier would have to be The Incredible Hulk. I actually just watched this movie today, and the movie was kind of boring a bit. I wasn't a fan. Edward Norton in the movie was just, I actually just saw it today for the first time. I never had any desire to see it, but since, there's been 30 Marvel movies out there now, I was like, alright, I'll give it a watch. And so I watched it for the first time, finally. And I was like, I don't know if I have any interest, but I finally saw it, and it's just, it's boring. It's okay, there's some good scenes with the Hulk, but, he's barely even the Hulk in this movie. There was not much happening. It was just very, very boring. There wasn't a lot of stuff happening. You see him, it takes forever for you to actually see him become the Hulk, and it takes forever for the action scenes to happen. It's just, I don't know. If Edward Norton played the Hulk in this movie, Mark Ruffalo, if they started off with Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, then I'd be all over to watch this movie. I would have watched it a while ago. I would have watched this movie, years ago if Mark Ruffalo was the Hulk in this movie, but no, this movie was boring. And that's all I have to say. The pacing was just very slow. And then Eternals would have to be at the bottom. This movie was so boring. This movie is so forgettable. I watched it once, no desire to ever watch it again. It was so freaking boring. I watched this movie, the characters were not interesting at all. Everything about this movie was not interesting. It was so boring. Characters were boring. It's the pacing was freaking slow. Nothing going on. Very, very boring. And it was so boring. I couldn't watch. I was sitting there waiting for it to end. I was like, when is this going to be over? Well, there's some good stuff about this movie, though, I will say. Let's get into the positives. I really like the volcano scene. The volcano scene has to be my favorite part of the movie. And the cinematography was outstanding. It was beautiful. And I loved the cinematography and visuals. And it's just, that's, like I said, the movie was just very boring. The characters were not interesting. And so, yeah, that's why I didn't care for this movie. So, yeah, never gonna watch it again. No interest. Yeah. So yeah, that was my tier ranking of all. Those were my tier rankings. That was my tier ranking of all the all 30 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this list? If not, give me your rankings of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Let me know what your favorite. Give me your list of all the MCU movies down in the comment section below. Comment below. Let me know. And if you like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like. All right. Bye.